Good morning, pilots. Today we're gonna fly the ILS one-way 12 in Kingston, Jamaica. The ICAO code of this airport is Mike Kilo Juliet Papa, the Norman Manley International Airport. I came across this approach chart and it has something really particular, something special, and we will brief this a little bit later. Let me introduce myself. My name is Julian Renaud. I fly as a captain for an airline. I'm also a flight instructor and flight examiner. If you are a real pilot or just an air simulation enthusiast and you want to know more about IFR or PPR training courses, I invite you to click on the links you're going to find on the description of this video. Follow my pilot lifestyle by adding me on Instagram, Pilot of West Indies. And finally, if you want to stay updated about the virtual flying school, the new videos and the special offers, add me on Instagram, virtual.flying.school. But first, let me give you one tip about approach plates. Let me introduce you the different sections you have on approach chart. The first section is for communication, from left to right. As you're going to approach an airport, you're going to need first the ILS, then the approach frequency, the tower frequency, and the ground frequency. The second section is for the approach briefing. The first line, most of the time, represents the final approach course. The second line, the missed approach segment. The next section is for the minimum safe altitude. Then we move to the approach plan view. You have a view from above of most of the different segments of your approach. Let's move to the bottom, the approach profile view. Next is what we call the conversion tables. You have ground speed, rate of descent, and timing indication. On the right hand side, the icons, approach light system, and missed approach. The last section is for the landing minimus. I will take it easy today. I'm gonna fly the Cessna 172 with the Garmin G1000 equipment. I will fly this approach with the autopilot engaged. So now let's make the briefing of this approach and let's see what is special on this chart. So what you can see from now, there are two DME arcs, one from the north and one from the south. I chose to fly the southbound one. We're gonna arrive at the initial approach freak named Eseda, which is located at 17 DME, radial 175 of Mike Lima Yankee. Mike Lima Yankee is the VOR located on the airport, frequency 115.5. We're going to fly this arc at 4,000 feet, cross the radial 295 of Mike Lima Yankee, make a right turn to intercept the localizer. The course is 1, 2, 3. Once we intercept the localizer, we can start the descent from 4,000 feet to 2,800 feet to the point Seabug, which is located at 10.2 DME from India Mike Lima Yankee. So now first pay attention. India Mike Lima Yankee is not the VOR, but it's the identification of the ILS. Frequency 109.1, the course 123. Now let's move to the special thing about this approach. Look, it's written just right here, localizer course offset 3 degrees. There is an offset between the localizer and the one-way center line. It's a 3 degrees offset. So don't forget to switch from the VOR to the ILS frequency when you make your turn to intercept the localizer. From the point Seabug, descend 2,000 feet to Staylock, which is the final approach point. The final approach point on an ILS approach is the point at which you start the final descent to the decision altitude. It's a descent on the 3 degrees glide path. The decision altitude is 278 feet, which is 270 feet above ground level. In case of go around, we climb to 1,000 feet, turn right to heading 225 to intercept the 17 DME arc of Mike Lima Yankee at 4,000 feet to the point Kano. Then we hold at Selok, which is located at 7.4 DME Mike Lima Yankee. The holding pattern is represented on the chart just right here. The altitude for this hold is 4,000 feet. The minimum safe altitude in the area we're gonna arrive to the point Eseda, it's 4,700 feet. The highest obstacle, 4,830 feet, which is located on the north side of the airport. Radio frequencies, I already said it, Mike Lima Yankee VOA 105.5 and the ILS 109.1, course 123. So we are ready to fly this approach. We are flying today the Cessna 172 equipped with the Garmin G1000. So let's have a look inside. So as you can see on the navigation display, I have already set the approach on the GPS, the initial approach FIC ASIDA with the 17 DME arc that you can see on the screen. We are not gonna fly this arc for 20 minutes. It's gonna be way too long. So we're gonna skip directly to the localizer interception. I will first show you how to intercept the arc and how to set the primary flight display to fly this arc either with the autopilot or raw data manually. So we are now 1 mile to Eseda. We are in autopilot GPS mode, 4,000 feet. I will not do anything for the moment. I don't touch anything. Let's see how the autopilot intercepts this 17 DME arc. So I'm going to zoom a little bit on the navigation display. We can see our position. Now the arc is active magenta mode on the navigation display. The plane is intercepting by itself the 17 DME arc. For the radio setup, I have Mike Lima Yankee VOA active on nav 1 and nav 2, selected on the needle 1 and the needle 2. The DME is also active on the nav 1. Let's fly this DME arc with the autopilot in heading mode. I switch to heading mode. You click on HDG, heading mode activated. I can now fly the heading manually. Check your DME 17.0. If it switched to 17.1, you're gonna make a 20 degrees turn to the right to stay on the arc. (7.1). Let's make a right turn of 10 degrees. Right turn heading 281. By doing this, the plane will come back to 17.0 DME. 10 degrees is not enough. I can now put 10 more degrees to the right. So as I said, I have a 20 degrees correction. By doing this, the plane will come back to 17.0 DME, fly a little bit inside of the arc, and then come back on the 17.1. This is how you're supposed to fly a DME arc. So let's skip from now to the localizer interception. You can have a look now to our position on the arc. We are almost intercepting the localizer. We are now crossing the radial 285 of Mike Lima Yankee. When we're going to cross the radial 295, we're going to make a right turn to intercept the localizer. We are still flying the arc. We are at 16.9 DME. I don't touch anything. I just continue on this heading. Now the course is alive. Next step, we're going to turn right to intercept the localizer. What we're going to do with the autopilot, I'm going to set the localizer mode on the autopilot. We are now about to cross the radial 295. You need to think a little bit. If we make a right turn heading 123 to intercept the localizer, this turn is going to be too short. So we're going to put a 30 degrees interception to intercept the localizer. So it's going to be a right turn heading 093. And there we go. We are now crossing the radial 295. Let's make that right turn heading 093. You need also to think about altitude and the switch of your frequency. Heading 093 is now set. I switch on the ILS. Make sure that the navigation is well identified. India, Mike, Limo, Yankee, and the DME. I can now set the localizer mode armed. I click on the nav mode on the autopilot. The lock is armed. I also need to make a descent. Check on your profile distance on the chart. We're going to descend 2,800 feet to go to Seaburg. 2,800 feet set. Vertical speed mode engage. 600 feet per minute. We are now on the radios, the ILS on the nav1 and the VOR on the nav2. You need, when you fly an ILS, if you are a naval on the ground that can shows you that you are intercepting the localizer at the right position, you need to put it on the nav2. The lock mode is now engaged. So the autopilot gonna follow the localizer. The localizer and the glide slope are now active. Next step, we're gonna level at 2,800 feet until the point Seaburg, which is at 10.2 DME India Mike Limo Yankee. We are approaching 2,800 feet and approaching the Seaburg position, 10.2 miles. We can now continue the descent 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet set. I'm going to increase a little bit the rate of descent, 800 feet per minute. The point Salok is located at 6.2 DME India Mike Limo Yankee. Approaching 2,000 feet, alt mode engage. The autopilot is level at 2,000 feet. I can now activate the full approach mode to have the glide slope interception. I click on approach on the autopilot. I have now the glide slope armed. Check the glide coming up. When it's gonna be centered, the glide slope will be engaged. Glide slope engage, position 6.4 miles, India Mike Limo Yankee. We are at the right position. This DME check interception can be different according to the temperatures. On the autopilot, we can now see that the localizer and the glide slope are both activated. Next step will be the minimum altitude, the decision altitude, which is 278 feet. Don't forget to announce 500 feet above, 300 feet above, 100 feet above. You need to remind the altitude. So this is kind of interesting. We are already visual on the one way. And do you remember that we said that there is an offset of 3 degrees between the localizer and the one-way axis? As you can see, we are not aligned with the one-way center line. So this is exactly what we expected because it's written on the chart. This is also why it's important to read all the information you have on those charts. Autopilot disconnect. Speed check flaps 10 degrees. 500 feet above. $300 feet above. Speed check flaps. 20.
500.
Speed check full flaps. 200 feet above. Landing checklist complete. Minimum, continue. So that's it for this ILS approach in Jamaica. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to check the online courses IFR and VFR by clicking on the link I put you on the description of this video. I wish you a very good flight and a very good learning.